We thank you so much for joining us and joining the program now. Kelly Bennett, Multimedia Journalist, SuperTalk Mississippi News.
Morning, guys.
All right, Kelly, tell us all about it. What in the world is going on across Mississippi this past week? You guys been tracking lots of stories. Let's start with Governor Reeves' statement on possible COVID mandates, masking, shutdowns, et cetera. What does he say?
Yeah, social media is really alive with a lot of, oh my gosh, are the mandates coming back? Are they going to require the vaccine? And there has been an uptick in COVID hospitalizations in recent weeks. The state health department reported 121 hospitalizations for the virus for the week of August 12th. And Governor Reeves thankfully coming out and saying, nope, we won't be doing mandates. We won't be closing the state down. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, and that's honestly not surprising. I think he's made it pretty clear that, as so many have, when this thing first hit us in 2020, there's so much unknown, and most were guided by the healthcare professionals who even now have admitted they didn't really know at the time. So It was just, an abundance of caution. But I think since then, especially given that this seems to be a much less, powerful version, folks aren't getting quite as sick. Although I'm surprised to hear we got people in the hospital. My guess is they had some comorbidities before they got COVID, which caused them
That's usually the case.
Yeah. So, okay, well, good news on that. What about Shawaski Young? We talked about that the other day, candidate for Secretary of State, a Democrat, who has pulled out of the race.
Yeah, so he is the Democratic Party's candidate, and he announced plans to withdraw from the race due to health issues on Sunday. Now, that left Republican incumbent Michael Watson unopposed. Young had been notified mid-August that the State Elections Commission was going to review whether he met the residency requirements necessary for him to run for office. There were some questions about that. Now, there are steps that can be taken that would result in the appointment of another Democratic candidate, a substitute.
Right.
Watson actually recused himself from that process for obvious reasons.
The SBEC was supposed to meet last Monday. So the week prior to that, we had sent information out. The office did to actually encourage him to bring some proof of residency, because there's proof out there that he has voted in California in 2018 and 2020. So the question is going to be, let's make sure that this health issue is up to date, is documented by a doctor, and I don't know why the commission wouldn't accept that.
Yeah, so it looks like they're working this process through. Of course, we had the primary runoffs earlier this week. If you're looking for results, or maybe you're wondering, did Nick Payne win or not? Or what's the process going on there? Because that was a really tight race. And it's still undecided. And all the details on the primary runoffs are up at supertalk.fm.
But Nick Payne, just watching his post on social media, he's sort of conceding already. Although he says, I'm not going to officially concede, but the language used seems to suggest that maybe he knows he's got a pretty tall task to get over the hump here as they get the absentee votes in. He would have to, I think, capture 80% plus of them to overcome his current deficit.
Yeah, and I would say that was the biggest surprise in the primaries.
Agree.
Runoffs, rather.
Yep. Pretty powerful member of the House there that looks like maybe he won't be returning.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead, Kelly.
I'm
Go
like,
ahead.
do you want me to take it, or you got it, or what? So there's a situation that unraveled in DeSoto County where a school bus driver has now been placed on leave after refusing to let students exit the vehicle in Olive Branch. Now, a video that's making the rounds on the internet, and it's also up at supertalk.fm, shows the students trapped, panic parents standing outside the bus going, let my children off the bus. And the bus driver has got the doors locked. This bus driver was apparently a substitute, and the decision not to let the kids leave came after a student used her cell phone to call a parent after being told not to do so. I don't know. It's you've got to see the
That's
video.
bizarre.
It's disturbing. Really
Wow.
disturbing.
Wow. All right. So that is kind of crazy. The war on domestic energy production. We were just talking about the price of oil now north of $85 a barrel. So what are we hearing there?
Well, the Biden administration continues to put the squeeze on U.S. energy. They have blocked off millions of acres of federal waters from an upcoming oil and gas lease sale. Not only that, they've placed new restrictions on ships taking oil and natural gas to shore. And Mandy Gunasekera, or her name is rough, Gunasekera.
Gunasekera, right.
Right. I've got the pronunciation in front of me. She worked as EPA chief of staff during the Trump administration, and she says this is the result of a settlement with environmental groups over wildlife protections.
I heard one of the oil and gas organizations refer to it as a lease sale in name only because it really does more restricting than it does allowing actual access to the resources we need. This administration has made those restrictions mandatory, and so it particularly limits the ability of ships in the oil and gas industry from going offshore and onshore and cultivating the resources that we so direly need.
The Gulf of Mexico lease sale was supposed to take place in late September. You know, this affects jobs. There are a lot of people on the Gulf Coast that work offshore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it just seems like they're bound and determined to just eliminate all use of fossil fuels, and it's all at our expense, of course. All right, is there a case where there were some issues at a daycare, where there's some sentencing that has occurred?
Yeah, and people are going to remember this one. 3 of 5 North Mississippi daycare workers have been sentenced to jail after a video went viral in which they used a scream mask to torture the children in the daycare. You've probably seen this story. Sierra McCandless and Oceana Kilburn will each spend a year behind bars. Jennifer Newman was sentenced to 6 months, and 2 other employees are awaiting their destinies. Their trials continue.
Wow. That's really something. That was a bizarre occurrence. Have you seen anything by any chance, Kelly, about this inappropriate book in the Hernando schools? I've seen that all over social media, and apparently it's my understanding it was like a rogue teacher that was having very young students read this incredibly, and there are excerpts like screenshots of the book itself have been out and about social media. My understanding is the teacher has been terminated. I don't know if that's the truth or not. I haven't really talked to any official sources. I didn't know if we had seen that in the news or if it was just kind of something at this point confined to the social media universe, but seen quite a bit about that. Wondered about that in the state of Mississippi, how much of that's going on with all the conflict across the country with respect to book banning, as they like to call it. This book was totally inappropriate. This page that I saw, if that's accurate, totally inappropriate.
Well, it does happen. Have you seen the video of the gentleman, and I can't remember, I think he was in California, went to a school board meeting and started reading out loud one of the books that was available to kids in his library. You know, these were, elementary students, I think? And they shut him up. They were like, this is not appropriate for a school board meeting. Well, then why is it appropriate for school?
Right, and that's exactly right, and that's what's going on. This is similar in that respect, and there are numerous examples, as you just suggested, about inappropriate content that parents have learned of, and they go to school board meetings and they read it, and they get all jazzed up about it. The school board does, but it's like they won't take a stand and say, "Hey, let's get this out of our schools." Yeah, I'm looking at this. This was a teacher on August 28th. A parent said that this is their 8th grade student and had a screenshot of the book. Said she went and met with a principal, Mrs. Steiner, and this is in the Hernando schools, and was appalled. The principal apparently was, and said that the book is being eliminated from the curriculum. and that they're going to make a big deal out of this at the next school board meeting. So I would just say to people in Mississippi, be vigilant, be looking out for this kind of stuff. It's probably elsewhere.
Agreed.
All right, Kelly, appreciate you giving us an update there. Great job. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great holiday weekend.
You too. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth